Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel and I am knitting. Not right now, but most of the time. And I have been knitting, so I'm going to tell you all about it. Hi, how are you? I hope you're doing so well. I'm doing okay. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, so I'm kind of like enjoying the thrill of filming a podcast outside of my normal schedule. Usually I film the podcasts on Monday, sometimes on Sunday, very rarely on Saturday, but I am trying to build a buffer and embed a buffer into my recording and uploading schedule so I can kind of get ahead of things. This has been my goal for a long time, probably over a year, and I've just never been able to make it happen. But this week, I'm making it happen. So the way that I did this for my own brain to, conceptualize it, instead of uploading this week's podcast yesterday on Tuesday, which is when my podcasts normally go up at 8 a.m. Eastern time, or no, 8 a.m. Central time. That's where I exist. Anyway, I uploaded a video all about how much I spent at Flock Fiber Festival, and that kind of functioned as the weekly video. So now I'm filming the video that won't go live until next week on September 9th. Look how productive and ahead of the game I am. This is very impressive. Please notice and laud me accordingly. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping that I can get this embedded buffer really cemented in my recording and editing and uploading practice. Fingers crossed. Anything could happen. This could crash and burn, but I'm hoping that it will be successful, especially because when I'm traveling and going on the knitting tours, it's always my good intention to have videos scheduled and ready to go and uploaded, even though I am out of town and not actually filming podcasts or videos aside from recording the experience of the knitting tour. Anyway, all this to say, I'm having a great time riding the wave of this excitement. So hopefully the wave continues and it doesn't crash upon me. Anyway, hey, hope you're doing well. I'm excited. That's the moral of the story. So anyway, great. What was I saying? Yes. Let me get started with the actual podcast. So if you're new here, it's a little chaotic. If you're new here, I upload weekly videos and they go over the projects that I've been making, any yarn or fiber I've acquired, maybe some patterns that I have my eye on, or partnerships that I have, all that stuff that I'm getting up to, I walk you through in my weekly podcast. So, without further ado, we'll get started, but not before I say thank you to the sponsor of today's video. You've seen me use the Bob and Brad hand massager. I love it, and it's been so helpful for me to use after long knitting and spinning sessions. Now, I want you to meet the world's first whisper quiet eye massager, the Zero Pro. Created by physical therapists Bob and Brad, this lightweight device is perfect for us crafters who might spend significant amounts of time straining our eyes as we make sure every stitch is formed just right. Not only has the Zero Pro been engineered to be 50% quieter than traditional eye massagers, it also features precision temperature control that delivers consistent and safe warmth for a soothing, deeply relaxing experience. You can also listen to music during your massage, choosing between the pre-programmed calming music for a truly meditative massage, or even connect it to your phone via Bluetooth to listen to your fairy smut while relaxing in darkness. Knitting while having your eye massager is not recommended, but worth a try for science. All in all, I really enjoy this eye massager and I recommend it highly. Thanks again to Bob and Brad for sponsoring this video and gifting me the eye massager to try out. It's a very, very welcome gift to my self-care routine. So now that we have gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into episode 61 of the podcast. So this podcast covers my making progress from the afternoon of August 24th through yesterday, September 2nd. So about a week of progress to walk you through. We'll start, as always, with project updates. I have a good amount of projects to update you on today. 6, if I noted them correctly. So we'll just go through them one by one. Some of you may, well, I don't know if you're attached to some of these projects or not yet, but you might, if you are, you might be disappointed. Starting with the Sarah's top, or the Sarah's tee. This is a sport weight tee designed by Sari Nordland, and I'm knitting it up in a fabulous, fabulous yarn. This is a Cormo Sport, a non-superwash Cormo Sport from Treehouse Knits. It is a new base for Treehouse, and it's custom milled in Wyoming for both Lauren from Treehouse Knits and Coley from Paisley Knits. It is a phenomenal base. Every stitch is a privilege. I've been telling you this ever since I started working on this project. However, I haven't been reaching for this project, and therefore I haven't made that much progress because I think I'm not really a huge fan of my gauge. It's quite a dense back panel that I'm creating here, and I feel like if I'm going to have a sport weight garment, part of the appeal of the sport weight garment is that it will be a little lighter to wear than my DK and worsted, etc. weight garments. But since this gauge is so tight, if I remember correctly, this is like 23 or 24 stitches over 4 inches for my gauge. Now this might be different for this back panel, but that's what it was for my swatch. And if you've been here for a while, you know that I don't really trust my swatches because my gauge has been known to change very rudely, if you ask me. But anyway, all this to say, this back panel, I can tell when I'm knitting it and when I feel it and squeeze it now, it's a very dense, dense fabric that I've created. And in addition to that, I can tell this is too small. This is not a size that will fit my body if this is meant to be the back panel. I fear that my bust will, escape from the confines of this top should I try to put this on my body if I kept knitting this size. So therefore, I do think that it's in my best interest to frog this project. I've thought about whether or not I want to put this back panel on barber cords and block it to get an idea of what my gauge is and compare it to my swatch and see if yes, it did indeed change, or no, it is the same as the swatch, just for, I don't know, knowledge is power, and having more knowledge, it couldn't hurt. So I may do that, but I may just frog it and start again with larger needles. But either way, I probably won't revisit this pattern right away because I have some other patterns that are really sparking joy and exciting me, and I really, really want to get going on them. And this, I just feel I need some space. I need some time to grieve and to nurse my wounds and heal from this experience before I'm ready to revisit it. But it does make me sad because I just have to reiterate to you, this base is so fabulous. It is an honor to work with this base. I feel like this is like nothing I've ever worked with. It is so nice, so luxurious. So it almost also makes me want to extend my time apart from this project because maybe this top is not the right choice for this yarn. Maybe I need to pivot and choose something else, which I have to tell you is annoying for a couple reasons. First of all, when I'm looking at Ravelry for a project, like I feel like I am inundated with sport weight options. Every pattern is written for sport weight. And whenever that happens, I'm not looking for a sport weight pattern to knit. But now that I have sport weight yarn and I'm trying to find a pattern for this yarn, there are suddenly no sport weight patterns on earth. I don't really know how that works, but that's my experience right now, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So if you have recommendations for a sport weight garment that's just one color and is like probably not a full sweater because I only have 5 skeins of this, I would very much enjoy your recommendations because all the sport weight patterns have hidden themselves from me for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. So there's an update on my Sarah's top. And it brings me no pleasure to say this. It's at no fault of the pattern. I haven't even gotten far enough to see if there's anything wrong with the pattern. I have no idea. But another reason that this is disappointing, because not only is it disappointing because I love working with that yarn and I wish that it was a project that was working out, but it's also disappointing because I spent $50 on this dang book, which is a beautiful book. I am glad that it's in my personal library. However, I had hesitation with purchasing this book, as you may remember in an earlier podcast episode. And I thought, I don't know if I want to spend $50 on a book that I may only make one pattern from. But ultimately, I decided to do it because surely I'll be able to find a different pattern as well. And then now the original pattern I was planning to make is not working out. But side note, there's also a Sarah's cardigan, which maybe that is the ticket. So under consideration. But all this to say, the Sarah's tee is going to take a break. Oh, showing you that book actually reminded me that I have an acquisition in the form of a book that I forgot to show you a few weeks ago. So hopefully I remember when we get to acquisitions. But if I don't, I don't, because I don't have a pen nearby and I didn't write it down and I'm not going to get up because I don't feel like it. Anyway, so we'll go on to the next project now that you're caught up on the Sarah's tee. The next project is a repeat of a project I showed you in an earlier podcast episode. I just was bitten by the bug of the 1x1 ribbed hat. This is the classic ribbed hat from Pearl Soho. It's a free pattern. I made this hat, and I showed it to you a little bit ago on the podcast. Hopefully you could see it. It's kind of dark. There we go. Dark in the viewfinder. But I spun this yarn with my own two hands with the assistance of a spinning wheel, of course. And it's really pretty. Really, really pretty. It is one strand of one strand of Big Sur and one strand of Egypt, which is a dark blue. And it makes this really pretty marled yarn. So I made this 1x1 ribbed hat, and this is going into my gift pile for the holidays. And then I still had over 100 grams left of that yarn I made. So I made a second ribbed hat. And this is going to be for DJ for the holidays. But DJ, if you're watching, forget you heard that. You didn't hear that from me. Anyway, again, I finished this. This was a great grab and go project to throw in my purse. If I dropped stitches, so what? Who cares? I picked them right back up. It was not a big deal. You don't have to be precious about this project. You can just run with it. So now I have two of these hats. And also I'll tell you, this original one in my gift pile, but now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should keep this one for myself and then DJ and I can have matching hats. But realistically, we already have a lot of matching hats. We don't really wear them. Like, I have my go-to beanie, like my Oslo Hat Mohair edition that I used my 2023 Irish Knitting Tour souvenir yarn for. That's kind of my go-to hat if I'm going to wear a warm hat. And DJ has a lot of hats. I've made him loads and loads of hats. So he has quite a full rotation. So I feel like if we had matching hats, that's nice, but they'd probably never see the light of day. So I think it's probably best that I keep this first hat in my gift pile for someone who I'm not telling you for. I'm imagining this hat to be gifted to. And then DJ can keep this hat. And then when I want this hat, I can wear this hat and steal it from him. So yeah, I did do some things to modify this second version. You may be aware that sometimes your ribbing looks crispier or better, but better is subjective. I suppose crispier is also a subjective modifier. But if you turn it inside out, so let's give an example. This is Maybe it's not easy to tell. So on this side, this is the right side facing out, and on this side, this is the wrong side facing out. And because it's hand spun, you may be looking at these and thinking, Rachel, they both look lumpy. What are you talking about? A fair critique, a fair critique. But I will say, I decided I liked the wrong side facing out more because my the knit stitches on the wrong side, which in practice were the purl stitches I was making, they look better on the wrong side. So I did a purl 2 together at the very end of the pattern instead of a knit 2 together. So that way I could put it inside out. Whereas when I did that on this one and it's inside out, maybe you can see there's the purl lines. So that's a modification I did. Instead of a knit 2 together with the final 12 stitches to make 6 stitches, this is a free pattern, so I can tell you whatever I want about the numbers. On this one, I did a purl 2 together all around. So there's two 1x1 ribbing, 1x1 rib hats. And again, this is a free pattern from Purl Soho. It's called the Classic Ribbed Hat. And it comes in loads of different sizes. It's written for a size 3 needle, but I knit it on a size 4 because I wanted my hands to not hurt. And also, I don't have the Chiagu size 3 with 3-inch needles, so it's a whole thing, and it's just my preference to have 16-inch circumference with 3-inch needles for small circumference knitting, so I use size 4. Okay, the next project to update you on is another classic ribbed hat. I have knit this thrice in recent memory, and this one is for my dear sweet John. Dun 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 dun! This is in a colorway called Onyx in the Jimmy Beans Wool Yarn Citizen yarn brand. Let's see if I can get you to see how deep and rich this color is without it just being a black hole. Yes, it's really, really pretty. If I remember correctly, this is a yak wool blend. I don't think there's silk in it, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Let me fact check myself, just stand by. Okay, I don't think it's yak at all, so it's a good thing that I looked this up. It is looking like it's 50% wool and 50% alpaca non-superwash. Now, this is a full circle moment because the reason I had this skein of Yarn Citizen Harmony DK in my stash, I'm trying to make you enjoy the color again. There we go. So pretty. Look at that stitch definition. That's because I put it inside out. And also the yarn. Okay. So anyway, in 2023, for the first Irish knitting tour, I reached out to Jimmy Beans Wool. Jimmy Beans Wool. Yeah. I don't know why that sounded wrong in my brain. I reached out to them and I asked if they would donate these really cute little pins, these enamel pins, because I was looking at different companies' websites and trying to find product that was just like a couple bucks and then asking the company if they would donate it because I figured that would be a small lift and it would be a nice treat. So anyway, I asked them and then they went above and beyond. Not only did they send the yarn pins, they were Yarn Babe pins that they sent, they also sent skeins of yarn, and I think they also sent scissors that year. So they really knocked my socks off. And the skeins of yarn that they sent enough units so that everyone on the 2023 Irish Knitting Tour would have a skein of Yarn Citizen. And they sent DK options and fingering options. So everyone had a random skein. There were different colors, different weights. And mine was a DK skein of the Onyx colorway. So it's very full circle that I made John a hat with it, and I hope that he likes it. Also, for context, if you're new here, I know there are a lot of new friends here, so hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, truly. John is our driver, usually. The last 2 years he's been our driver. He's scheduled to be our driver this year as well. Hopefully in 2026 he will be the driver as well. But for the Irish Knitting Tour, really for all my knitting tours, but for the Irish knitting tour, we use a coach company called Kennedy Coaches, and for each tour, there's a driver that takes you around from point A to point B. We're on this huge coach bus, and it's just a fabulous time, and the driver really makes it all the more special because not only are they so skilled navigating roads that are much more narrow than I'm used to driving on, and I don't have anywhere near as large a vehicle, but they also help with luggage, and they're personable, and they tell jokes, and sometimes they provide snacks, like Mark does that in Scotland. So John, this will be my 3rd year with him as my driver on my Irish knitting tour. Very, very special. Love him to death, and it's high time that I made him a hat. So I'm bringing that hat with me next month in October when I go see him again for the 2025 Irish knitting tour. So that is the 3rd project to update you on in today's podcast. And the next project is a finished object, which is super exciting. This is dun, 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 a finished Sophie shawl. Now, I have made 2 Sophie scarves. I have not yet made a Sophie shawl. I've also made a couple of the Simple Thing by Melina Brell, and that is a free pattern that is very, very similar to the Sophie shawl / Sophie scarf. It has an I-cord edge, it is a garter, it has increases on one side to a point and then decreases on that same side, so it kind of makes a large elongated triangle. So I wanted to make a Sophie shawl to get a fair look at both versions of this type of construction of shawl. And like I said with the Sophie scarf, I much prefer the starting and the finishing technique for the Sophie shawl / Sophie scarf versus the Simple Thing. The Simple Thing, for whatever reason, the way that Melina Brell has you start and finish it, to me that's just a lot of work, and I really prefer this. So anyway, it's done, this Sophie shawl. I don't really want to wrap it around too officially because I don't want to mess up the mic. But I'll tell you a little bit of backstory on this finished object and why I'm super, super excited and happy with it. So this is yarn I spun myself. Wow, so many of the projects I'm showing you this week they're from yarn I spun. That's so special. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I started spinning in April of 2024, so just over a year, and now I've got workable, wearable things that I made from yarn that I made. That's really special. Aw, so cute. Okay, so anyway, I spun this yarn from 2 braids of non-superwash American Rambouillet that I purchased from Lauren of Little Fiber Co. She's a hand dyer in Philadelphia, I believe. And one of the braids of fiber was this purple. I'll put a picture on the screen so you can see what they look like individually, and then I'll hold this up so you can see what it looks like spun and knit together. So one braid was purple, which I believe was called Gleam, and the other was like a neon pastel, which was Incandescent. Or I might be mixing up which one is named which, but Gleam and Incandescent, 2 really beautiful colorways. So I spun each as a single, and then I plied them together, and it made this really, really beautiful, approximately 200-gram amount of yarn that, I don't know, it's like kind of like specks of neon in certain, or stripes of neon in certain areas, but with the purple consistent throughout. It's not loud or in your face. But I was just so happy with how that yarn turned out. I spun it during Tour de Fleece earlier this summer. Well, actually, now let's talk as if we're in fall. So earlier this year in the summer season is when I spun this yarn. And when I was done spinning it, I instantly pictured it as a squishy. What am I trying to do here? There we go. Let's see. That'll work. As a squishy garter shawl. That's just exactly what I saw it as. Sometimes, you know, when you find yarn, or in this case you make yarn, or you see yarn, instantly you're like, I can picture that as XYZ thing. Sometimes you don't have that luxury. Sometimes you see a yarn and you think, I love that yarn, but I have no idea what I'm going to make with it. And that's fine. It takes all sorts of, relationships with yarn to make our hobbies work. So sometimes I have no idea what I'm going to make when I see a yarn I love and I get it anyway. For this, as soon as it was off my wheel, I saw this as a garter scarf, garter shawl. And then when I was really, really riding that wave of knitting with my hand spun, I had just finished 2 1x1 rib hats. I wanted to make another 1x1 rib hat, but I wasn't sure what yarn to use. Let me tell you, I really went down the rabbit hole of thinking about 1x1 rib hats because I was thinking I could make enough of this pattern to have one for every person in my family at the holidays. I've since come to my senses a little bit, maybe, I don't know. It's not totally off the table, but it probably won't happen to that degree. But I was like, that was such a quick project. It was so fun. It was really gratifying and rewarding. And I want to make more, but I don't know what yarn to use yet. So I'm just going to pull this yarn off my yarn wall that I know what I want it to be. And so I wound these 2 skeins up and I started knitting with them and I made this beautiful Sophie shawl. There are some problems with it though. And when I say problems, I just mean it burns my butt right up, but it's actually in reality not a big deal. That's what I mean. And the first of which is, really it's 2 things. Well, I suppose 3. Where is it? See, this is just, it is further proof that this is not really a big deal. I'm just making it a big deal in my mind because I can't find the thing I'm talking about. Oh, here it is. So there are a few sections in this shawl where you can see that the yarn had a little bit of a slub, like right here. You see that puff here, that fiber? That's just an area where the fiber wasn't really spun. It's just kind of a lump that got into the bobbin as I was spinning. There's another one here, this pink one. Okay, but really the most egregious one is this orange one. Do you see it? Oh, disgusting, horrendous, heinous, gross. Now, when I was knitting this and I got to this orange bump, this orange hernia, if you will, I didn't think hernias would be a common theme on my YouTube channel a month ago, but here we are. Anyway, this one is the most egregious of the 3 that I could easily pick out then. And by easily, it's not really easily because, again, it took me a while to find them. But after I had knit a few rows past this orange lump, I seriously considered multiple times over if I should frog back and not include this. But then I just kept going because at that point I was on the decreases and I felt like I was in the home stretch. So I just kept going and it's still there now. So things I've thought about that I could do if I'm bothered enough is I could felt it down a little bit with a needle felting needle. And that might help. But also, in the grand scheme of things, when I hold up the shawl, I can see it right now. Maybe you can still see it right now, but I think hopefully we can agree that it's less obvious than when it is the focus up close. So like when I was knitting this, obviously I could see it in very clear terms, but when this is far away, wrapped around my body, folding over itself, I probably won't see this. So I think I just need to get over it. But yeah. Other than that, I'm really, really happy with this. I still need to weigh this so I know how many grams I used, and then I can officially put this as a finished project on my Ravelry project page and get it off the section of whips at the top because that is growing and it needs to not. So getting this off my active whip section will be a huge relief. I put a stitch marker here to mark where I spit spliced my first ball and joined my second ball, and I'm happy that you can't really even tell. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off because I don't really need to know that anymore. And there we are. My finished Sophie shawl in yarn I spun myself. I'm so happy with this. And it's really gratifying that, like, I spun this in July. I thought this is going to make a really nice shawl one day. And then now, today is one day. The day has arrived. I have a beautiful shawl with my hand spun yarn. Oh, the third thing, or I lost track, but another thing that's kind of frustrating is I have a lot of yarn left over. Well, not a lot of yarn. I've got a little bump of yarn left over, and I wanted to use up all of it. But I only had, around 200 grams, and I followed the pattern for the largest size, which supposedly calls for, I think, 3 skeins of DK weight yarn. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe this was really more of a sport weight. I don't know. I don't care. Here's my finished Sophie shawl. There you go. Okay, so now let's move to the 5th project that I've been working on this week. A very exciting project because last week I showed you it on the blocking boards. It was my alchemy tee. And since then, I have picked it back up. In fact, you can see the line of demarcation from where it's blocked versus where it's not. It's right here. Everything down this way is not blocked yet, and everything up from here has been blocked. So you can kind of see how that's translated on the fabric. But I am super close to gauge. I think my stitch gauge is on the pattern and my row gauge is 1 off. So I'm still just going to knit this according to pattern. Like do the same amount of rows, and then I just might have a little bit extra depth to the arms, and then a little bit extra length to the body following the pattern's row count. And I've talked with Leslie, I have her blessing, so I'm going to move forward with that. But this looks so beautiful. We got the shoulder slope detail with that iconic alchemy slipped stitch going through. And then once you're done with the increases, you just knit straight down, keeping that slip stitch detail. But that means these kind of eyelets, they're like faux eyelets because they're made by increases, not by like making an eyelet on purpose, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it is purposeful, but it's not, it's a functional eyelet, basically. Okay, great. So I have about, let's see, about 20 rows left of the back panel, and then I will pick up the front panels. Dun, 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 and I'm very excited for joining in the round. So this is now my grab and go project because I don't really need to look at the pattern. I just need to keep track of my rows and knit away. And guess what else? All of this, since blocking, I knit yesterday. So even though this is a fingering weight garment with a relatively tight gauge, or not necessarily a tight gauge, but it's on small needles. It's not like you're making a DK weight top on size US 8 needles. It's much smaller, more condensed than that. Despite all that, I knit like 4 inches yesterday. Hello, that's incredible. So this is flying now that it's back on my needles, and I'm really enjoying it. The yarn I'm using is Cesium Yarn, Creator of Beauty, which is the leftovers that I have from my ranunculus that I knit in 48 hours for flock, which was nuts, and I do not recommend you doing that. So there is the progress on my alchemy tee. And then next I have kind of a, I don't know, an annoying project or a frustrating project, or really it's not the project that's annoying or frustrating, it's what happened with it. Okay, so let me get my head on straight. A couple weekends ago, maybe two weekends ago at this point, DJ and I went to the library and I got this baby knits book because his cousin is expecting a baby this fall, and I thought I should try and make something for the baby shower. And I was thumbing through this baby knits book, and the pattern that I stumbled upon was so cute. I was immediately sold, and I decided I would make it for the new baby. This is the classic teddy bear by, I don't know who the individual pattern author is. Is it just the author of the book? Who is the author of the book? Okay, so the senior designer is Glenda Fisher. There's no author listed, but there's other designers named too. So I'm not exactly sure who exactly this designer is birthed from, but I wanted to make this teddy bear. It's a garter teddy bear, so cute, and I don't know, there's just something special about making a handmade gift for a baby shower. So I went through my stash of yarn and I was prioritizing DK weight yarn that had already been caked up. And I found this skein of Worth Fighting For from Treehouse Knits, which is this one, this beautiful purple. I think that's Worth Fighting For. It might be something else, because I don't know if this is Worth Fighting For. Well, it's something. I think it is. I don't know. It's a purple from Treehouse Knits that I had caked up. And I made the head. This is the head. It needs to be sewed together. So right now it looks like an amorphous, confusing thing. But this is the teddy bear's head and the snout. Okay. And then I also made the ears, which you sew on to the teddy bear's head. And then I also made the body, which again, you would sew on to the teddy bear. And then I made an arm, and then I ran out of yarn. And the reason for this is because I'm an idiot. Well, okay, not really. But I didn't clock that holding this double, I'm holding this double, by the way, because it calls for a chunky weight yarn. So I only had one skein of this. I was holding it double, and it didn't really go that far. So I tried to find someone who had an extra skein of this, but it didn't really work out. So I think that I'm going to pivot and make something else. I don't know if I'll make the teddy bear for this particular baby shower, because now time is short. The baby shower is only 2 weeks away. So I need to cook up a plan and figure out what to do instead. But it's difficult because I hope this doesn't sound, I don't know, self-absorbed, but when you are hand making something, if you have the spark and the passion and the motivation in the moment, you could get it done in a day, no problem. You could really focus on it because it's really captivating you and you knock it out in an afternoon. But if there's something that has become an obstacle in that process, like running out of yarn or the gauge not working or not understanding the pattern, that can really rob you, or at least me, I'll speak for myself, that can really rob me of the spark and the joy that I'm feeling when I first started the project, which then makes it feel like I'm walking through quicksand to find the motivation to pick the project back up or even to pivot to a different project. So I'm currently in the muck and mire of the quicksand of my heart for that teddy bear. I want to make something for this new baby, and I have 2 weeks to do it. Well, a week and a half now. So hopefully I can muster the strength and the courage. Yeah. But anyway, that's a project to show you that I started and that I won't be finishing, at least not with that yarn. So yes, that's all 6 of the projects that I've been working on over the course of this last week. Some have brought me immense joy. Some have been huge thorns in my side. There's a whole spectrum with my projects, and there's room for everyone at the table here. Whether they're good to me or mean to me, my projects are still basically why I get out of bed in the morning. So gotta recognize their value even when they are obnoxifying me. So that's it for project updates. I want to talk to you next about project plans, because I've cooked up an exciting way to live over the next few months. So Jackie of Jackie is Making talked about on her podcast that on September 1st, she starts an annual rewatch of Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls. Every time I watch it, there's something new to be horrified by, which, if that's not the epitome of being alive, what is? So I do love Gilmore Girls. It was foundational and formational for me as a young teen. So I thought, yeah, I'll rewatch it too. And then Jackie said someone suggested to her that they use Gilmore Girls as the opportunity for her to work on a color work projects that's giving her grief, or she needs to muster up the motivation to pick up. So working on it during Gilmore Girls will help motivate her. And when she posted that on her Instagram stories that she was going to have a rewatch exclusive project, I was like, yes, sign me up. I was suddenly Ariel in Ursula's cave, signing a contract and ready to put my voice on the table in order to participate in this endeavor. I love challenges like this, or just like structure. Most of the time. Sometimes not, but most of the time. So for this, I thought this was a great idea. I wanted in immediately. So I have decided I am also going to rewatch Gilmore Girls this fall. My goal is to watch 7 episodes a week. So some days I may watch a couple episodes, some days I may watch no episodes, but I'm hoping every week I will watch 7 episodes. That may seem like a lot, that may seem like a little depending on your schedule. I prioritize consuming media with my time, so I think it will be doable for me. I've decided for my rewatch project, I'm going to make a cardigan because that screams fall. And if I'm going to make a cardigan, I'm going to make a cardigan that I've tried to make and want to make, but haven't made yet, which is the Felix cardigan by Amy Christoffers. If you've been around here, you know I already have a purple Felix cardigan and that I want a green Felix cardigan. And as you may have noticed, I've started holding 2 balls of green yarn, so you may have put 2 and 2 together. I'm going to make a green Felix cardigan while I rewatch Gilmore Girls. This will be the only project that I work on during my Gilmore Girls rewatch. I think it's going to go quickly because the Felix cardigan is knit on size US 10 needles, so it has quite a large gauge, and all the sizes start the same, so you don't have to swatch, which is beautiful. That's an amazing situation. I tried to make a green Felix earlier this year in the summer season, which we are now past, and I didn't love how it was turning out because the Surrey was darker than the DK yarn, which kind of created like a shadowy effect or almost a marling, and that wasn't my vision for my green Felix cardigan. So I since acquired Surrey. These are both from Clockwork Fiber Company. I since acquired a Surrey that I think matches the tone and the depth and the shade of my DK weight yarn. This is Hunter from Clockwork Fiber Co. So I'll be holding these together to make my second Felix cardigan, and I'm going to make it pretty much exactly to the T of how I made my purple one, which had some significant modifications. For instance, I did a double knit button band and a double knit collar, which really was just a folded over stockinette collar, not actually double knit in practice. And I'm going to have it be a bit cropped like my purple one. When I originally made my purple one, I knit it from start to finish, essentially according to pattern, and I didn't like how it turned out. I never wore it. So then a few months later, I mustered the courage to chop it up and fix it. So I took a lot of length out of the body, I frogged the button band, I frogged the collar, and I reknit those with my updated choice of double knitting the button band, etc. I love the final product. It turned out so well. The modifications, I think, really elevated the sweater. So I'm just going to start out planning to do that with this project. So that will be my Gilmore Girls rewatch project, and I'm going to keep you updated on how it's going. Now, that's not the only media I'm going to consume and project that I'm going to make alongside that media consumption. Leslie and I have decided we're going to watch Vampire Diaries. Now, Vampire Diaries has been on my list for a long time. I've started it a few different times with my sisters. They've both watched Vampire Diaries. They love Vampire Diaries. They've tried to get me to watch it forever. I've stopped, I've started, I've stopped again, I've started thrice, and I've just never gotten it to stick. So I'm trying now to make my sisters proud and let it stick. So, of course, I have a structured project to go along with my Vampire Diaries watch, and I'm also going to try and do 7 episodes a week. You may be thinking, Rachel, you must have no life. And first of all, that's kind of mean to think. Second of all, it's true. Therefore, let me show you my Vampire Diaries project that I'm going to make alongside watching it. I'm going to make Shoop the African sheep. So if you watched my flock video, you know that I purchased this Sorella Home yarn line at Flock with the intention of making Shoop the African sheep, which is a granny hexagon, or it's an African flower crochet hexagon motif. That is a mouthful. That you sew those hexagons together to make an animal, in this case, a sheep. Did I say it's by Heidi Bear's Designs? If I didn't, that's who it's by. And that designer has all sorts of different animals. There's a hippopotamus, there's a teddy bear, there's a dinosaur, and more. So I'm going to make the sheep. And then I'm pretty sure it's not going to take me watching an entire series to finish Shoop the African sheep. So once I'm done with Shoop, I think I will make either Dale or my Highland cow pattern. So Dale, I got yarn from Cushiondale. In 2023, I got yarn from Cushiondale and I made a tea room lamb named Cushy. And in 2024, I got different colors from Cushiondale to make another tea room lamb named Dale, and I haven't gotten to that yet. This year, I'll get more yarn to make another lamb, but I'm not sure what I'll name that lamb. But every year I want to get yarn on the Irish Knitting Tour to make a tea room lamb, and soon I'll have an army, so watch out. Yes, so that's the plan. Vampire Diaries will be stuffed animals, and Gilmore Girls will be like patterns that I've had in my queue and I have the yarn for and I just need to do it. So those are my project plans on the horizon. And of course, like with the Gilmore Girls project, I will keep you updated on my Vampire Diaries project. Okay, great. So let's move next to Spin Diary. I have a very exciting thing to show you. I didn't grab it to be prepared, so let me grab it. Hold on. And actually, while I'm getting up to get it, I will get my acquisition I forgot to show you. Work smarter, not harder, folks. I'll be right back. Ta-da! I have for you a finished spin. This is 100% non-superwash merino that I spun hand-dyed by Kate of Red Door Fiber Studio. This, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I have this. I almost didn't come home with this from Flock. On Saturday, I really, really loved it and I wanted it, but I said, I'm not going to get it today. If it's here tomorrow on Sunday, it's meant to be and I'll get it. And then when I went to Kate's booth on Sunday, there were only 2 left. So I snagged one of them. And this colorway is called Wasteland Baby. In an earlier podcast, I think I referred to it as what it is to be a woman, but that's not correct. Wasteland Baby. And it's this beautiful blue-green. There are blue sections, like look at that flash of blue right there. So pretty, and here too. Oh, what a treat. My goodness, so beautiful. And this is a pretty even and consistent spin, so I'm very happy with that. Not only because that's something to be proud of, if you ask me, but also because I have not had a very strong skill with spinning merino in the past, thinly and evenly. So I'm very happy to see my skill continue to grow with this spin. And this is my August spin. That leads me to what I'm going to spin in September. I haven't totally decided. So if next week I show you my September spin and you're like, oh my God, I've been subscribed to a liar this whole time, I'm telling you up front, I may change my mind. But right now, this is what I'm thinking for my September spin because it just seems really nice and autumnal. We've got browns, we've got greens, we've got purples. Seems cozy, right? And in fact, the name is Fall Patina. So it makes sense. And this is 100% Shanico, which I really, really enjoy spinning. And I want to try this other Shanico. I've tried Clockwork Fiber Shanico and Cesium Yarn Shanico, This braid is from Yarn Jam, so I want to build my experiences of Shanico from different brands and maybe find one that I prefer to all the rest. So this is what I'm currently thinking for my September spin, but that's subject to change. And if it changes, you have to promise to be nice to me and not be upset, because this is literally small potatoes. Who freaking cares? So that's my spin diary. Now what's next? Acquisitions. Great. I'll show you the thing I forgot to show you. I'm so sorry I forgot to show you this. As you can see, that is really, really an egregious oversight. I can't believe I forgot to show you this. So I bought this a few weeks ago. DJ and I had a grand day out. We went to 2 movies. We went to Barnes & Noble. It was fabulous. It was amazing. It was such a fun day. And I bought this at Barnes & Noble. It is a crochet amigurumi pattern book. And the patterns are Muppets. And the reason I purchased it is because obviously I need to make Rizzo the Rat. There's all sorts of Muppets in here, though. There's Kermit, there's Miss Piggy. I think Miss Piggy looks terrifying, and if I make this pattern, I will put her snout up higher. I don't like the distance between her eyes and her snout. It's unnerving to me, and it is not accurate. Like, look, this is what Miss Piggy actually looks like. There's no gap between her eyes and her snout. Please notice this, okay? So, anyway, what other patterns are there in here? There's Fozzie Bear. There's Animal. There's Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. I feel like I would get along with the people who named the Muppets. Like, he's a scientist, and he looks like a honeydew, so his name is Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. That's incredible. I feel like I'm kindred spirits with this person. There's Gonzo. Yes. So this obviously was a huge investment in my future happiness. I cannot believe I forgot to show you this when I first got it. But that's the first acquisition to show you. The second acquisition is a gift from a dear friend who's also named Rachel. And I just have to take this opportunity to tell you that this is a testament to the friendships that are built on a knitting tour. So when I run a knitting tour, most of the time everyone knows who I am because I'm who they learned about from the knitting tour. So there's like a built-in knowledge or built-in rapport with me and most of the people who sign up for the knitting tour because it's my knitting tour. But in 2024, I went on a Shetland knitting tour as a just regular person. It wasn't my tour. I was going to scope out future knitting tours, and I met some amazing people who are joining future tours, and we have a WhatsApp group, and we keep in touch, and everyone's so kind, and we're always rooting for each other. And Rachel made me 2 cute little bags. They're little project bags. So this one has a zipper. I'll probably use for notions. And this one is a drawstring bag that I'll probably use as a project bag. Oh, and this is stretchy. That's so nice. And there's a few cool features about this. Well, I guess really one that I want to talk about. And that's, if you look at this fabric, it looks like puffins from far away, I think. But close up, surprise, they're rats. So exciting. So thank you so much, Rachel, for sending me these. They will not go to waste. I'm just so appreciative. And like, I don't know, just to have like a friend who I was a stranger to, and then I hung out with her for a week, and now like we're lifelong friends, and she hand makes me project bags because she sees fabric in a store that reminds her of me. That is crazy. That's amazing, and I feel very humbled by it and very grateful. So thank you, Rachel. Very, very appreciative, and it's just so exciting. Oh, I should say, complete my train of thought. The reason why it's cool that they look like puffins from far away is because part of the appeal of going to the Shetland Islands is the chance to see puffins, specifically when we go to Jarlshof, which is a prehistoric settlement site. So, It just like is a full circle moment, ties everything together. There's purple background. It's meant to be. So I was so happy to receive that. And then the last acquisition that I have to show you is from another grand day out, but this time it wasn't with DJ. It was with my friend Mary, who I also met on a knitting tour. She was on Scotland too earlier this year, and she's going with me on one next year too. So it was super fun to get together with Mary. Listen, here's something cool that happens on my knitting tours. Basically, every knitting tour so far, there have been at least two people who are practically neighbors but have never met before. Like in 2023, one person's house was on the route that another person walked their dog and they'd never met, and now they're fast friends. And that's not the only time something like that has happened. But it's never happened to me. There's never been someone from my area on a knitting tour. But in Scotland, too, on that trip, it happened to me. I met a local friend in Scotland. How funny is that? So Mary messaged me and invited me to go to a local yarn store about an hour away on Labor Day. And so we did that together, and it was a super fun time. We went to Swamp YaYas in Mandeville, Louisiana. I think I said Metairie when I was recording a few clips for it. I'll show you a little mini vlog of going to Swamp YaYas in a second. It was really, really fun. It was just what I needed. It was great to get out and to see a friend, and I just had a great time. So let me show you my acquisitions. I got three things. I got this beautiful periwinkle skein, sparkly skein. Can you see the stellina? Maybe. It's not really translating in the viewfinder, but it's really, really pretty. This is from Drunken Sheep, which is an exclusive yarn line, exclusive to Swamp YaYas. There's a sister team who dyes it, and it is called the Purple Duck, and this is a DK weight that's 75/25 merino nylon. So that's nice. It was $32, and it's so pretty. So got one skein of that, and I got these cool foldable scissors that took me way too long to figure out. In fact, if DJ hadn't figured them out for me, I still wouldn't know how to do that. But I figured that would be perfect for travel because they are unassuming and hopefully wouldn't get confiscated. Not that I've ever had scissors confiscated, but I don't know, better safe than sorry. And then I also got these really cute Santa stitch stoppers. So that's my haul from Swamp YaYas, and now let me show you a little bit of a mini vlog going through the trip there. Okay, we made it to Swamp YaYas, which is the local yarn store here in Metairie. We're in Metairie, right? Mandeville, Louisiana. And there are shop bunnies amongst us, according to the sign on the door. So I'm excited. Let's go check it out. I'm here with my friend Mary, and we're ready to have a great time. Okay, welcome back. That was super fun. I hope you enjoyed the incorporation of a little bit of a exciting, non-traditional element of the podcast, let me know if you liked that, and I'll include more in future episodes. But now let's move to announcements. So I have the same announcement as always, keeping you up to date with the availability of my 2026 knitting tours. So I have 2 spots available on the Knit the Wild Atlantic Way tour. That takes place from May 11th through 20th. It's going to be so fabulous, so fabulous. Starting in Dublin, going to Northern Ireland. We go to Giant's Causeway, we go to Belfast, we go to multiple different farms. We'll have interactions with 2 different sheep farms and even an alpaca farm. So it's going to be a really, really wonderful time. Not to mention all the yarn shopping and all of the workshops that we'll get to enjoy together. And then I also have room on my 4th annual Irish knitting tour, which will take place from October 5th through 14th of 2026. This is my baby. This is my most favorite trip that I offer. I know I shouldn't pick favorites, but the Irish knitting tour in the fall, you just can't beat it. There's nothing like it. It's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. We stay at 5-star hotel, other 4-star hotels. There's amazing food. Hopefully we'll have John as our driver. It's just going to be a fabulous time. We also go to sheep farms. We go to a ceramicist studio. We have needle felting workshop and knitting workshops, and we get to enjoy Dublin and the south of Ireland. It's just beautiful. Autumn in Ireland is truly the mountaintop of my heart. So I'd love to experience it with you. If either of those trips sound interesting, you can scan the QR code on the screen or head to the links in the video description box to read all about the itineraries and the costs associated with each trip. So let me know if that's of interest to you. You can always email me at rachelisknitting@gmail.com if there's any questions I can help answer or clarification I can provide. I'm always here to help. Okay, that's it for the podcast. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're having a good day, and I hope that you're working on something that's bringing you joy. I'm having a lot of fun with YouTube lately, and I hope that's translating to you through your experience watching. But anyway, all this to say, I'm having a super fun time with all of you, and I'm really appreciative that you're here. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time.